In this episode of Crystal Uncorked, we're mixing things up a little bit. I am going to just pretend that you and I are at a dinner party. You came over to my house, we opened a bottle of wine, and we're talking about the normal stuff that I talk with my friends about. And that often starts with shows we're watching or movie recommendations, or we dive right into playing a game. And so I want to talk about all that today, plus the books I'm reading. There are 7 of them, which is insane. So let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, I'm Crystal Vilkaitis. I'm a curious, wine-loving entrepreneur who loves to learn and have open and honest conversations. Join me and my amazing guests as we talk about all sorts of relatable business and life stuff. It's my goal that you'll have fun, learn something new, and get inspired. Wine is not required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Okay, so what I'm drinking on this week's episode, we're going to ask my future self, who is at a restaurant 2.5 hours from now with some friends, drinking my favorite, one of my all-time favorite wines. And I cannot believe that I have not had this wine on the show yet. It truly is like my go-to to bring to a party, to always have on hand. But I just haven't had it on hand lately because I've been trying so many other kinds of wines. So fingers crossed that future self has a glass and that the restaurant's not out of it. Let's check in with her to see what I'm drinking. Hello, future self is here and we're at Pacific Coast Grill. Look at this view. Friends can wave, turn, show the view. Look at that view. Yep. And the wine that I'm drinking, that's one of my all-time favorites, I cannot believe I haven't shared, is Joel Gott Cab. So my friends who drink Joel Gott, you know, you're cheering, you're so excited. They serve it here. It's such like a simple cab, but it's amazing. It's at Costco. Go get some. You're going to love it. And let's jump into the episode. Cheers! All right. Sounds pretty delicious, right? And pretty amazing view. Hopefully, future self was able to show you the view because this restaurant is on the ocean, right there on the water. It's amazing. Okay. So like I said, this episode is a little different. We're talking about TV shows and a movie recommendation and books I'm reading and some games that I love playing. And so I want to just start with TV shows. That one feels very top of mind. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. So last night was Monday, was Bachelorette. And I already shared how much I love that show and how I should totally be the host of that show. So if you know of anybody, you know, this won't be the last time you hear me saying this. I definitely want to be the host of it. I love, and I love that show. And I just want to say for anybody who is watching that show, Michael, who is the father, his wife passed away. Oh my gosh. I don't think him and Katie are going to be there till the end. Like, I don't think she's going to pick him, but I really hope he becomes our next bachelor. Either I hope Katie picks him or he becomes our next bachelor. I love him so much. He's so sweet. Such a gentle soul, great energy, seems really fun and awesome. But I think she's going to choose Greg. So, and I see their chemistry, but she totally said to him, you have like resting sad face instead of like resting bitch face. And he seemed really surprised by that, but he does always seem sad. And thankfully they did have a fun date last night. I think it's hilarious. I'm talking about this on my show because a lot of people are probably like, I don't give a fuck about this, Crystal. What? We've taken a turn, but I don't care because we're uncorked. And this is what we're talking about. So I think Greg's going to take it. They have amazing chemistry. But we'll see. We will see if I am right. Will Katie find love? Will it be the most dramatic episode and finale that we've ever seen? Let's find out together. I cannot wait. The next show that I just recently fell in love with is Top Chef. So when we were flying to Hawaii, I shut down my email and social media. I refused to work on that trip, which is so new for me because I really love working on an airplane. And so I just was there to watch some of the shows and do some reading. And I just got hooked on season 17 of Top Chef. The host of that show, I'm always analyzing hosts of shows because I really feel like I'm meant to host a show. I don't know. I just really would love to. Or maybe I think about that stuff. I don't know. But the host, she is incredible. She is a phenomenal host. I'm really impressed with her. I'm impressed with the whole production of that show, their challenges, their graphics, the interviews, and then the freaking food that these people make. I always try to think really quick, what would I make? And I'm not creative at all in the kitchen. But what I'll say is when I watch this show, I feel like I want to kind of explore and be creative with food. And cooking is totally a creative outlet. And I've been looking for new creative outlets in my, from an astrology perspective, in my birth chart, it heavily comes up that I need creative outlets to not feel overwhelmed in my life or frustrated or angry in my life. And it really just to have that, even it says intense creative outlets. And so I've kind of been thinking about that. I don't really have a whole lot. Doing this show is certainly a creative outlet for me, but that's kind of it. And then I have a business. Business in itself is very creative. Often you're making something out of nothing and you're strategizing. And so I get some of that, but I've been looking for non-business creative activities, and cooking is what I'm really interested in. But I find that I don't really have to pull all the flavors together. I don't know how to cook things or proper ways to cut things. So I feel like my next step there is take a cooking class, but just really love that show and would totally oh my gosh, would love to be a food critic. Could you imagine being the host of that show and trying all these dishes? Oh, that would be so amazing. For the most part, some of them probably wouldn't be delicious, but so that show, loving. I would love to hear from you if you watch any of the love shows like Bachelorette or any of the cooking shows. What are your favorites? Will you tell me either, however you're consuming this, you could tell me in a comment on YouTube or DM me on Instagram or email me cheers@crystalandcork.com. I love finding out about new shows and I love show recommendations. The last show I have to share, I'm only on episode 3, but Ted Lasso on Apple. Oh my gosh. This show is so incredibly sweet and inspiring and gentle and funny. I am obsessed with Jason Sudeikis' character, Ted Lasso, and because he's this really sweet, wholesome guy who he's this, coaches soccer, but really small town kind of coach that gets hired for this big, I don't know if they're professional or semi-professional soccer league in England. And everybody's like, who the hell is this guy? Why is he coming here? And you quickly realize, well, he was actually not hired for his skills, but he does have a lot of skills with people, coaching people and being a business owner and having employees. And just, I've always been very interested in psychology and culture, team culture and all of that and leadership. And I get so much out of that show watching his character. And it's so funny. There's a lot of quick jokes. So you really want to be paying attention if you watch it. Don't be on your phone and watching it. Just watch the show. One of my favorite, Dustin caught it. It was so funny. He introduced 2 people at a restaurant. I think this was episode 2 or 3. And he's like, hey, so-and-so, meet so-and-so. And they're like, hey, man, how's it going? Blah, blah. And Ted goes, congratulations, you guys both met somebody pretty awesome. He said something like that. I'm not quoting this exact. Oh my gosh, I loved it. It just his enthusiasm and how he said it. And they kind of looked at each other. I totally want to steal that. But it's really sweet gentle, inspirational, things like that. I just can't say enough about this show. I'm only a couple episodes in, but I expect it's only going to get better. They're often nominated for awards, and I'm like, really? How is that show that great? But I get it now. So let me know if you have a TV show that you recommend. I totally love watching TV and movies because it also is a creative outlet for me in the sense that I analyze a lot of how it's written and music that's used and the acting and the placement of cameras. And I just love all that stuff. So if you've got a really great show, share it with me. Speaking of great shows, there is a movie that we watched this year that's been like my highlight movie of the year. And that one is called Our Friend. It was released a few months ago, I think earlier in 2020. Oh my gosh, actually it was released in 2019. I didn't watch it until this year, though. I thought it was out sooner. But Dakota Johnson, Casey Affleck, Jason Segel, they are phenomenal. It's a story about a husband and wife and a friend, and the wife has cancer. And the very first scene of this movie was done so well. Just the placement of the camera, it starts kind of zoomed in, and the husband and wife are having a conversation about her being sick and telling the kids. And the camera pans out as you start seeing more of the room, more of the room, more of the room, and more of them. And that one scene, by the end of it, and then it cuts to the next scene, I am crying. And I say out loud to Dustin, oh my God, I've never cried after a first scene before. Like I could barely even get my words out. It was just such an amazing scene. This is based on a true story. The man wrote a book, the man that ended up losing his wife. And I can say that because you know it basically going in, like this is terminal cancer. So it's not a spoiler. It's funny. It's genuine. It's so special. It's a really special movie. I cried a lot. And then at the end, I was just hysterically crying. The last time that I was like sobbing after a movie was when there were only two other movies I remember that. I don't remember which one came first, but Armageddon. I was like in high school and went and saw that in the theater, and the Titanic also in high school, saw it in the theater, and I couldn't get out of the chair. My friends are like, come on, let's go. And I'm like just sobbing over those two movies. So Our Friend has added my list of movies I saw at the end. I'll link to all these on everywhere that you're listening to this if you want to easy access or check them out. If you have a movie that you have seen, one of those movies that you're like, oh my gosh, the writing was incredible, the acting, the setup, like whatever, and you just bawled your eyes out. I love those movies where I just bawl my eyes out, or you laugh a lot. And I did both of that in that movie. Will you share with me? I would love to know that too. All right, now let's talk about books I'm reading. And I have a confession. I said it in the beginning of the show. I'm in the middle of reading 7 books, and I realized this last night. I thought it was 6, and then as I was preparing for this show, I realized it's 7. So I'm going to tell you all the books I'm reading. Let me grab them. Okay, I'm going to start with the one that I just started yesterday, because I was like, starting another book, but I'm kind of reading some other ones. Maybe I should finish those first. But I got really excited. I don't know if you feel the same way. I get like excited to read the next book. So the one I started yesterday is called A Mind at Home with Itself by Byron Katie. And this is about, we can't control our mind, but we can ask questions and we can love it and ourselves and help change our thinking through that. Essentially, she says it better in this book, but it says how asking 4 questions can free your mind, open your heart, and turn your world around. She's got a pretty interesting story I didn't even realize about that I learned in this book of kind of how she got to these 4 questions. And I started it this morning in my journal, and it really is interesting how it leads you to different answers and allows you to think of things very differently. I'm only, in chapter 3, but I'm loving the book. Highly recommend it. I used another book that I'm reading as the bookmark for this book. So my next book that I'm reading, also like in the middle of, is 10 arguments for deleting your social media accounts right now. And this is by Jaron Lanier. Again, I'll link to all of this. A quick book. You'd think I was done by now, but listen to what these arguments are. Argument 1, you're losing your free will. 2, quitting social media is the most finely targeted way to resist the insanity of our times. 3, social media is making you into an asshole. 4, social media is undermining truth. 5, social media is making what you say meaningless. 6, social media is destroying our capacity for empathy. 7, social media is making you unhappy. 8, social media doesn't want you to have economic dignity. 9, social media is making politics impossible. And 10, social media hates your soul. So you can tell how the author feels about social media. There are absolutely valid arguments here. You might be like, why are you reading this book and talking about it? You have a social media company that seems completely the opposite of what you do. And for me, I like knowing all aspects of what I'm involved in. I don't want it to just be one thing, one way. I'm a very curious person and I like understanding things fully. And I love just seeing both sides of the coin. I do know that there are definitely some serious issues that we have because of social media, hands down. And I would like to, and I'm constantly thinking how I could help in that arena, which I've talked about in previous episodes. From a marketing perspective and these small businesses that we represent and help at Crystal Media, we're seeing just phenomenal success from it and results. And we love these people that we work with. And there's just no other free marketing that you're going to get like social media. And it's typically more cost effective. And just from a marketing perspective, it is one of the best channels ever. And you can use it for good. You know, it doesn't have to be all bad. So anyways, it's interesting. There are a lot of valid points in here. My next book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book I started on my Hawaiian vacation, and I brought this with me because usually I'm reading a business book, and my promise to myself in Hawaii was that I would have no social, no email, no business. So like I couldn't consume podcasts that were business related. I couldn't read books that were business related. I just really needed to take a break. And this was such a pleasant reminder of how much I love reading fictional books. I used to read a lot more in high school, and college. I got super caught up in the Twilight series. I was into Harry Potter. I have a very active and wild and strange imagination. And it's fun because I can especially when you have a great author, you just build out this scene and these characters in your mind, and it just allows you to escape. And this is written really well. This is by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it is basically just about this actress who she's in her 80s, I believe, and she randomly hires this writer to write her story about her life and the 7 husbands she had. But, it's the secrets of Hollywood and just a really great story. And there's definitely mystery there of why she hired this girl to write her book. And I have a feeling they're related in some way, but I don't know yet. I got to read to keep figuring it out. Next book. This one's funny because this is Post-Corona: From Crisis to Opportunity by Scott Galloway. And I recently found Scott Galloway maybe end of last year on a webinar I was listening to. And he is a marketing genius, is a professor at NYU, has a really great podcast called Prof G, I think is what it's called. But if you just search for Scott Galloway, you'll find it. He talks a lot about marketing, but as well as finance too, and the economy. And I'm just very interested in all of that as well. So, I really do believe that through crisis and pandemics and things like what we're going through now, there's always opportunity. And he really shows some of those opportunities in this book. And it's been pretty interesting read so far. The thing that I say is funny about this book is I ordered this and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I ordered it. And then I ordered it again and it came and I'm like, I swear I ordered this book and I'm trying to figure out. And then one day I realized my camera that I'm looking at, if you're watching this, the very top book is this book. This book has been sitting in front of me this whole time. And I just did not realize it. I did not read it. I ordered another one. So I was like, wow, there really must be something in this book that I need to read. And so I'm anxious to get back into that one. He's got some phenomenal points. And right now it's pretty heavy on big tech, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and, what some of those challenges are and what we need to do to regulate those businesses and where the future is going. He talks about Tesla and, it's just very interesting. Okay. Next book, Believe It. Jamie Kern Lima, who I absolutely love. She's the founder of It Cosmetics, which I'm wearing on my face right now. This is how to go from underestimated to unstoppable. I can't believe I haven't finished this book yet because when I first started it, I was just cruising through it. I loved it. Jamie totally reminds me of me. She talks about in this book, like, she's like, I'm just like you. If you were to come over to my house, we would be in sweats and I'd hand you a cup of coffee. Maybe you'd have wine in it. We'd sit on the couch. Like, she's just such a relatable person and seems like she has just such a big heart and is so, resilient and persistent. And it's about her story of being told no so many times and overcoming so many challenges trying to build this business. But she ultimately does and sells it for over $1 billion and becomes the first CEO of a cosmetic line. Just really, really first woman CEO of a cosmetic line. Really impressive woman. Very inspiring story. Definitely recommend. We actually talked about that book in a previous episode with Tammy Staker. Okay, next one. So I actually read this book and then I started it again recently because, I obviously needed to start another book for some reason. But this one is the fact that I've read it already and reading it again. I've never done that with any book before. This one is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza so much. My nutritional therapist, Dr. Michelle Wolford, is who turned me on to him. She recommended that I read this because I was really trying to break some habits and change some things within myself. And she's like, you really should read this book about breaking the habit of being yourself. Well, I then started doing more research about Dr. Joe Dispenza. And if you are on Instagram, I really recommend following him. He's just got, and I even follow the Dr. Joe Dispenza hashtag on Instagram because there's so many just great quotes and trainings and stories of people who have used his training. It's just phenomenal, but it's really about how to lose your mind and create a new one and how scientifically we can become a new person. And so if there is something that you really struggle with, you want to change from within, he tells you how to. It does, for me, this book felt a little heavy because it is scientific. It's scientifical. There I go again, make it my own words. And I found myself like rereading things a few times, but it's really, really worth it in my opinion. And speaking of rereading, this one's probably like the least fun book of them all, probably the least that I've read. I've done a decent job, I guess, for where I'm at, but an important book, especially if you're a business owner, Tax-Free Wealth, How to Build Massive Wealth by Permanently Lowering Your Taxes. This is second edition, Tom Wheelwright, who's CPA, and it's forwarded by Robert Kiyosaki, who is Rich Dad Poor Dad author, which also a great book. I read that forever ago. Really should read that one again. There are so many things when it comes to money and finances and investing to set yourself up for financial freedom. So many things are not taught in school, which I feel like they should be at an elementary level, middle school, high school, college. Like, these are fundamental. Like, we have to have money to survive. And we're just not taught basic things like budgeting and planning and investing and, the shoulda, woulda, coulda, just putting away like $100, a month when I was 18 into the stock market and how much money I'd have now. It's crazy. So I just think it's really important for our youth to know these things. And as a business owner, but anybody, like, you should really understand how to best place your money and spend your money and save your money and different write-offs and things like that for your business. And so, I have a natural interest in finances and money. So this is something that I get excited by. Maybe not everybody feels that way, but I still want to encourage to do some learning there so you are setting yourself up financially. There was another book I read a couple years ago called The Latte Factor or The Latte Method, but it basically talked about how if you instead of bought a latte a day, you save that money. It tells you this story of this girl and her, on her financial journey to, having more money and buying the things that she wants and having the life she wants. And in that book, it talks about how the average American, I think it was 7 out of 10 Americans, do not have an additional $400 in their savings account in case of an emergency, like you need new tires on your car, unplanned things, right? A doctor's bill, something breaks at your home, whatever, unexpected trip you have to take for family or whatever. $400. And so I really think it's so critical for us to understand how to budget and plan our finances. And so there you go. Those are my books. And the last thing that I want, my 7 books, I really should wrap these up and report on what I've learned from them all. But my last thing I want to talk about in this episode is just games that I'm playing. We had a game weekend this weekend with our friends, and my all-time favorite game, we played three rounds of it. I could play it all day, every day. Seriously, like, I've looked into maybe joining tournaments, which sounds so geeky, but I don't care. It's amazing. It's called Catan. Now, the correct way, I guess, is Catan. This game, I think, originated in Germany and by Klaus. It's kind of like Risk meets Monopoly in a way. It is such a fun game. It is so addicting. We do Cities and Nights version. So you have like different add-on expansion packs. So we always play Cities and Nights. If you play Catan, you have to let me know on Instagram, email me, leave a comment. Maybe we could play online. There's an online version of the game, which is super fun. But for me, I just really love the in-person with friends or family. My uncle Brandon is the one that really got me into this game back in high school. And I've got all my friends playing it and we all love it and are addicted to it. So such a fun game. We also played Scotland Yard, which is a fun one, where basically it's based in London. One person is Mr. X or Mrs. X, and they hide based on a number that you get. And the rest of everybody else playing are a team of detectives, and you have to find Mr. X. And they move throughout the city on a bus, taxi, or underground. They can also take a boat, and they occasionally reveal themselves. And so we try to find and plan to get them. I'm a really good detective. Anytime that I've played detective, I think every time I play detective, we found the Mr. X. When I was the Mr. X, Mrs. X, nobody found me. So that was pretty fun. Can you tell I'm competitive? Just a little bit. So check that game out. And if you're looking for games, if you're like me, you like playing games, we also played this one. It's older. It's called True Colors. And basically just ask a question and everybody has a color. And I'm always the color red. And you have dots and you vote for that person. So it might say, who's the biggest baby? Was one of the questions. And you vote for who you think the biggest baby is. You put it all in this, little box, and then you vote how you think people are going to respond to you. Do you think you're going to get 0 votes? Do you think you're going to get some of the votes, or do you think you're going to get all of the votes? And that's how you get your points. That's really fun for either like getting to know people or for a really close group of friends. There could be a lot of laughing in there. Definitely recommend that for close groups, like friends and family. That would be really fun, actually, to play with family. I never have. And then finally, Mexican Trains. Super fun game. It's dominoes, basically. I feel like I could play that all night, too. Like, just one more round. And so that is my little, kind of non-business episode of Crystal Uncorked, talking about TV shows and movies and books and games. And again, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite game or TV show or book or movie? Please. I know I've said it like 5,000 times. Share it with me. I really do like hearing from you and hearing what you're up to. These are all such great outlets for us. And I think it's so necessary to have and kind of check out and explore new worlds and learn new things. So let me know what you thought of this episode as well. My little kind of media pop culture sort of episode. And I will, actually I want to ask you a favor. And I mentioned this in the outro, but if you're still listening, it truly means the world to me. When I see people write reviews, when I see people take screenshots of it on their phone, on the podcast, or taking a picture of yourself listening and posting that on Instagram and tagging at Crystal Uncorked, or some of my friends text me it, or I'm reading these reviews. Like, I cannot tell you, at this point, I don't have advertisers on this show purposely. I just want to have content and talk and see how this goes and see if I can help people and turn it into something. And if you are enjoying it, I want to know. Please let me know in any way that you feel comfortable. And I thank you for your time and being here. And I will see you on the next See You. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. Are you on Instagram? I'd love to see pictures of you listening to the show, a screenshot of your favorite episode, and/or your favorite wines. Share them with me. Just follow and tag at Crystal Uncorked. I can't wait to see you there. All right, I'll see you on the next See You.